Hello, it's Dr. Rafael Gutierrez, Karate Doctor. I do actually have an MD, by the way, for those of you who actually wanted to know. And today I'm going to actually talk a little bit about bow. And I actually have a couple drills that I did with one of my students. Now, one of the things I'll tell you about these drills is they're not part of the curriculum for bow. But what I did is I used the Filipino stick fighting pattern and used the bow with it. The reason is the Filipino stick fighting pattern really is a valuable tool. It actually can help you how to do basic strikes. I am going to make one for blocking, and so it should be able to be a two-man drill eventually. The way I like to do blocks is going to be different, but I'll talk about that when I make the next video. Now, before I show you the basic drills that I talk about, I want to actually tell you that I did actually start doing a diet which I made myself, and I've progressively lost weight. For instance, between last week and this week, I lost 4 pounds. Now, it doesn't sound like much, except that I haven't been going up. I've pretty much stayed now since last night, I stayed at 186, and this morning I was still at 186. And so 4 pounds in 1 week really is actually a big deal, especially if you can consider you actually see a pattern. Like I said, when I first started doing this, I was at 130. And so going down to 185, you're talking about a big cut in body mass index and weight. If you are interested in following diets, I can actually tell you certain things I actually changed for dinner and how I actually adapted my dinner and lunch together. So for instance, when I made my dinner now, I actually use half of it for lunch, half of it for dinner. The nice thing about that is you can actually, you only have to make one meal prep instead of two, and you actually have it for 2 meals. So what I would do is I would have my breakfast, which I told you now is a piece of toast with avocado, apples, bananas, and oranges as much as I want. I always do use the spinach, so a lot of the recipes I've actually come out with have actually a cup of raw spinach per serving. So if I'm doing spaghetti, I do I do the serving of spaghetti, but I cut it in half. I put 2 cups of spinach and then tomatoes and all the vegetables that I want. I always do put a little ham in it because I like meat. But I'll tell you guys about those recipes if anyone's interested. The other thing I will actually mention with the way I'm actually doing it, I don't feel like I'm giving up anything. In particular, the reason is because I still eat whatever I want on the weekends. For instance, this weekend, when I made the video, I had a cheesesteak sandwich, which I love. They're huge, and they have a lot of calories, but as I'm actually doing a diet throughout the week, it's kind of a reward for me. I also do actually still enjoy gelatos and different desserts, which, like I said, it's a lot of, the thing I think is funny is a lot of people think, oh, you just give up everything. And I'm telling you, no, you don't have to give up everything. You just have to do stuff in moderation. And even on weekend, like I said, a Philly cheesesteak sandwich is a big sandwich, and as long as you only do it once a week, it's not going to be a big deal. So with that, I will show you the video, and if you enjoy these, please subscribe, tell your friends, enjoy, show them to whoever you want. And again, this is not a pattern that's actually recognized by any Kabuto. It's just the way I'm actually finding, but pretty much the way I'm actually teaching some of my students when they're doing basic stuff. Mainly because when I try to teach katas, if they don't understand how to hit or how to block, it really becomes pretty difficult to have them move their entire body doing this. So that's actually why I did the video the way I'm doing it. The other thing I'm actually I do want to mention is something I actually read about in COVID News. Now, what's interesting about COVID News is you can actually see how correct information helps drop COVID numbers. For instance, up until pretty much the last part of 2020, I'm talking about from November to January 6th, you actually see this massive spike in COVID cases. In January 7th, 8th, 9th, you start seeing a decline. And at this point, we're actually getting declines that are pretty low. In California, for instance, you see this massive increase in cases. And today, when I checked the numbers, it was about 2,000 new cases of COVID in California in one day, and it's averaging about 2 to 3,000 new cases a day for a few months now. Now, the reason that's important is, well, first of all, you have to actually put the numbers in perspective. If you look at the population of California, it's huge. And so the 2 to 3,000 really isn't as much as it would be in other places. There are actually, in San Diego, for instance, it's actually bigger than, I think, something like half the U.S. states. And so when we're actually looking at these numbers, that's something you want to look at, is how many per person. So we did see a big drop, and the reason I think the big drop is people started actually being forced to use masks in a lot of cases, and the 6-foot distance is actually really important. Now, there's a new recommendation that says if you have the vaccine and you could keep 6 feet from a person, then when you're outside, maybe you don't need a mask. Now, this makes sense if you're riding a bike, if you're running, and you can keep 6 feet distance from everyone. But if you're actually in public, it really does make sense to put on a mask, no matter what an idiot who wears a bow tie tells you, who pretty much, as lawyers, tell you that nobody rational would listen to them. I hope you enjoy the video that I made after this, and we'll have a nice day.
Hello, this is Dr. Rafael Gutierrez, Cadet the Doctor, and I have a student of mine, Leonardo, who's going to actually help me with this video. What we're going to do is we're going to do some stuff with bow. And so the big things is, this is just basic stuff. Now, one of the big things I would tell you is when you're doing bow, you're going to actually be switching hands. You're going to actually do some sliding. And the reason I actually tell people to do that is so they can get more power. Remember, when we actually switch hands, try not to let go and come across. Just slide across. And when you grab with your pinky and your thumb. Now, I know some people tell you grab with all fingers. The reason I'm telling you to grab like this is because if you actually look at, first of all, if you actually study the hand, you'll notice that it have a better grip that way. If you actually play any sports which use swings, for instance, baseball, if you actually do golf, you'll notice this is the same graphs that you would use with a club. And so the basic drill you're going to have is you're just going to switch here. And I would actually tell people to practice this 10 times. Once it's actually easy, then you're going to add something else. So what I would tell you, the first thing to add is a step. So if you're here, step back, step forward, switch, step back, step forward, switch. Now, once you get that, we're going to do a basic pattern, which I borrowed from Filipino stick fighting. So the basic drill pattern that we actually had is from here, coming down 1, switch 2, coming across 3, 4, leg 5, 6, then coming up around 7, 8, and now we switched it from coming down to just coming straight in with the hit. Here, coming straight in with a hit. Here, slide, bring your leg back, come forward, hit, come back, slide, hit, coming this way. And that's actually a basic pattern. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Leo actually use me as a target so you can see what he's actually hitting. So you will see the basic pattern as done by Leo. I'll be his target. Leo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's a basic pattern, and where the targets actually have a lot of anatomical sites which can actually be used later. Thank you, goodbye.